Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 16 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph. Late riser couldn't be with us today. He's attending his sister-in-law Nidhi's wedding. Most of you guys won't know this, but Nidhi was part of the Dream Set Go team that helped us to start this podcast. She was our one-point contact for 2 years. She used to log into her Zoom account for us before every pod for 2 years, and she's a big reason why the FPL Wire exists today. Please join us in wishing her and Raghav a happy married life. I do have another happily married man with us. Ladies in the chat, do take note. How are you doing, Pras?
Well, firstly, my congratulations to the couple as well. And I'm doing well, man. Nosebleed territory, like
26K,
25K.
25K.
25 now after Saliba and Solanke lost their bonus. So, I mean, it's good start. But again, another very lucky week. Like I feel that Liverpool postponement caused so much of a ripple effect in people's transfers, in people's captaincy, and first sub, and it was incredible. Like the swings this season.
Incredible. I think so many guys were going to sell Mbeumo. So many guys were Captain Salah. Who knows what Salah could have got, but absolutely a lot of swings happened because of that.
Yeah,
Interesting
but
stuff.
even if they had captained Salah, right, and Salah did well, Salah would have been mass captain. So right now, I think the Palmer minus Saka edge that people who captain won't have had that. But let's say Salah scored 15, then you only get Palmer points at like 90% EO, right? And Salah does whatever he does. Because you captain Palmer, other people captain Saka or even a Watkins, you got like a magnified advantage of Palmer doing well. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people, LR went, I think LR was going Haaland anyway, but a lot of other people who had didn't have Salah then ended up going Haaland. So it has been lucky.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic week as a Chelsea fan, I must say. I can't remember the last time I captained a Chelsea player 3 weeks in a row and he delivered. I think it must have been Eden Hazard days. And
You
like
got to make it 4 in a row.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this week. I don't like the Brentford fixture, but I just wanted to say, like, the season hasn't been going great so far, but the last 3 weeks, I think, like, I watch a lot of Premier League years, and, like, whenever you watch a previous season back, you never remember your rank, but you remember the moment, like, when this goal went in, who you were with, where you were, the emotion you felt, right? So definitely these 3 weeks are going to be the highlight of the season for me.
Yeah, now it's been incredible. And I was just thinking, like, is there anyone who sold Haaland who's unhappy? Like, everyone has their little uptick, right? Whenever they sell Haaland. Now, this will change, of course. The party will end at some point. But everyone, like, I had my Cunha party as soon as I sold. You've had your benefits from capturing Palmer instead. So I think it's been a good time for everyone who doesn't. And those who have, it gets a little bit difficult. Every week becomes a little bit more difficult as the easy fixtures come.
Yeah, and what's happened now, I don't think, see, the thing with Haaland was the main worry was always a 180, 170 EO, which you were up against. If he
Yeah.
went big and with captaincy in the equation, it was always scary, but now it just isn't. Now, even if Haaland does score big at 20, 30% EO, it's not really going to hurt you. Now, it's in fact become more of a differential, more for people to climb, rather
Yeah.
than somebody who's going to hurt your rank.
Absolutely. It's now an opportunity for people who hold rather than, us fearing it. Like for the last few weeks, Jackson has been a bigger threat than Haaland. Like who would have thought for me? So just one of those things. Very odd. But you know what? Like having a no Haaland team also now that everyone has gone there has also converged a lot of picks, right? Now we're talking again peripheral 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th pick rather than talking, oh, Salah versus Haaland versus Palmer versus Saka because everyone has Palmer, Saka, Haaland.
Yeah, the
Palmer,
template
Saka,
has
Salah.
the template has converged, and for the game, I think we do need Haaland to start firing.
I agree. Agreed.
Cool. Let's start off. Sponsor plugs.
Let's do it. All the stats that you will see today on the pod are from Fantasy Football Scout. And if you haven't checked out the app, check out their new app. I use it a lot for like live ranks even. Like, of course, live FPL is there. But if it's like specific to your team, if you want to check out like stats, you can do it through the app. It's actually pretty quick. It's easier than going on the website. So do check that out. And it's a good time to become a member. Like always, December period is games thick and fast.
And as you guys know, NordVPN has been a long-term partner of the FPL Wire. If you're bored of the streaming libraries in your country, with NordVPN, you can access content outside your region, get access to a wider library on your favorite streaming services, and if you're traveling outside your country, you can access your home library content. Every purchase of the 2-year NordVPN plan using the link nordvpn.com/the FPL Wire will receive an additional 4 bonus months on top. Watching anything interesting, Pras?
I finished the first season of Silo. It's very good, man. Like it starts slow, And by 4, 5 episode, I was like, is this worth it? But then everyone has said it's good, it's good. It ends really on a high, and even season 2 has picked up really on a high. So that's what I've been watching. I have a lot of your recommendations up on next, like Senna and others, but Silo has been good.
Fantastic. I've been doing a lot of gaming. There's a new Indiana Jones game. Are you a fan of the
Oh,
franchise?
I mean the movies. I
Yeah, of
haven't
course.
played a game.
I know, but the movies, it's very nostalgic. It's a full throwback to the movies. They've got Harrison Ford's likeness, voice,
Ooh,
everything down. They've got the whole whip and all. It's a lot of fun.
nice.
So that I highly recommend that. It's a bit buggy now. It'll probably get patched up a little bit. Getting back to Nod. Nod also has an efficient anti-malware and anti-spyware protection tool. It highlights any attack and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/the FPL Wire. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description below. Right, Press, let's start up. We have an interesting player on the thumb this week. You may or may not have bought him already.
I may have, yeah. I mean, yesterday morning, basically, I was watching the highlights again, and I was like, this guy is like, he is doing what Gundogan used to do or Xhaka used to do. Similar system, similar roles. Of course, it changes a lot. And then I was looking at my future paths, and I was like, you know what? If for 2, 3 weeks I can get a guy, if it doesn't work out, he can become an Eze. And if it works out, then Rogers can become an Eze. So that's the kind of thinking I had. And so I was like, it's not a bad shout. So a lot of people will be jumping on him, but I want to start with a cautionary thing. Like, don't rely on, Enzo and Rogers or Enzo and another cheap guy like Iwobi as your fourth and fifth mids because long term. Because things change in FPL, right? I mean, there was a time when we were saying, oh, midfielders are so hard. We cannot, prime real estate, 5 horsemen. This is the way to go. And suddenly now nobody can find a fourth horse. Like, apart from Saka, Salah, Haaland, there's no midfielder that is a clear pick. So it's little bit of a caution that don't set up your structure to be so rigid that it's difficult to move stuff around. But he looks exciting, man. You tell me about him.
We'll talk about him more when we get to the section. We have to talk about Mbeumo replacements in the mids under 7 million. There's a lot to unpack. But before that, let's cover the schedule. You wanted
Yeah.
to hit this right at the top. So which ticker should I load for you, 16 to 17, or do you want to look at the 18 one?
First 16, 17. So something I wanted to basically note is, we've been talking in the past, Game Week 12 fixture swing, Game Week 12 fixture swing. I think the next one, important one is Game Week 18 fixture swing. So what we should discuss is how do we tackle the next 2 game weeks? Can we be patient with certain picks? And then how do we attack the Game Week 18 fixture swing? So you'll see here basically the top of this fixture ticker for the next 2 games, only 2 games, is Wolves at the top. So of course Wolves have disappointed. A lot of people have Cunha, some have Strand Larsen, some have Ait Nouri. Top of the ticker, don't need to worry about them. If you can, hold on, because Cunha to other people, when we'll come to the other fixture swing, is right there. Next is Newcastle. Now, when people are looking at entry points, now Newcastle fixtures are good for a long time, but it doesn't get better. Basically, Wolves and Newcastle both have Leicester and Ipswich in the next 2. So that's basically 2 very good, as good as it gets. Then you have Arsenal and Chelsea. I think Arsenal and Chelsea are both longer term good fixture swings. But it's a case of if you wanted to shift around and if you were looking at defenders. So I'm going to keep talking about this a lot because some moves can be delayed for 2 weeks. Some moves can be done this week. So if you're comparing an Arsenal to a Liverpool, so Liverpool have Fulham at home. Fulham have been decent. And then you have Spurs away. So if you just look at the next 2, you can say, look, Arsenal have pretty much at least a clean sheet here. They should anyway. And then that's, if you wanted to jump on somebody, the priority should be getting on an Arsenal. And then maybe Game Week 18 fixture swing, you can get on a Liverpool in due course. Chelsea, you can get on them now. They're actually good for a while. And then at the bottom, there are a couple of teams that stood out. Basically is Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace, again, nobody has shown them any love. People will start to show them love when we start looking at Game Week 18 fixture swing. Aston Villa, I think not great fixtures. Next 2, so if you're looking at a Rodgers, if you're looking at a Watkins, even 18 is not ideal for them. After that, the fixtures get really good. So what I wanted to show is there's certain picks that are not emergency. You don't have to jump on a Liverpool. And there's certain picks where you could prioritize. So now if you go to 18 onwards off, and then I can get your views on what teams you'd like to target. There you go. 18 onwards. This is basically the next 8 weeks after. Liverpool go right to the top. So if you're looking at Liverpool picks, if you're breaking your team this week, I would say, look, don't need to take hits for them. Wait a couple of weeks, but definitely have a plan for Leicester at home game week 18. That's the time when you want to get on your Liverpool picks. Let's just, see out away to Spurs. And this obviously doesn't include Salah. I'm including anybody else from Liverpool. People are looking at Alisson, looking at Trent. You could do that. Crystal Palace, look at that. Away to Bournemouth, okay, you don't have to jump on them then. But home to Southampton, very good entry point for Crystal Palace. People will be looking at Mateta. So Cunha to Mateta is basically a move. Like we said, Wolves good, first two, and then you could move on. You could look at, upgrading one of your mids to an Eze. Let's see what the penalty situation is. Maybe we don't know. But regardless, Palace look to be getting back. There is a fourth midfielder that is emerging who's on set pieces, will play 90 minutes over the period. Of course, you're giving him another 3 weeks to get over his injuries and a little bit of an early sub. And then your boy Munoz. So people have Eight Nouri. People have a problem with their third defender, fourth defender. Look at Munoz's fixtures over pretty much a good period of time. They're not in Europe. A team that is getting back. Fulham is another one. People are looking at Robinson from game week 19. You could even look at Anderson 4.2 now. Ridiculous price for a Fulham defender. Raul Jimenez as a Cunha replacement. And Chelsea and Spurs. So Spurs is the other one that stood out. If you wanted to even go for Solanke, I know people have lost faith or whatever, but look, he's a cheap striker, man. Cunha to Solanke, if you can afford it, not a bad option. Then you go right to the bottom. Wolves, ignore. Brentford, pretty much you can ignore. Now, they're not terrible because the tough games are at home, but it's a team where you can basically start to say, I don't need to invest in them. So a long one, but what are your thoughts, Zoph, in terms of fixture swings and teams to target?
I think Liverpool obviously is one right at the top because we also know now they will have the double coming in 24, I think, or 25. That's the most likely scenario, Pras. Why don't you tell our viewers about that?
So it's very early days, basically. But what will happen is if they're still in all the competitions, right, which is basically Carabao Cup, Champions League, FA Cup, then there is a theory that they will not wait till late because then we start getting into panic territory, triple game week territory if you don't schedule it early. So 24, 25 could be those weeks where they could schedule. Still, I would say, the odds of them exiting, and if they exit any of the competitions, then it could go anywhere. But what we need to know is that in 8 to 10 weeks after the fixture swing, it could happen. There's a reasonable chance of it happening.
Now, also the fixtures, I look at it for Liverpool, Pras, I think they look better from an attacking perspective than a defensive perspective, I'd like to say. Leicester at home is good. Then you have West Ham away, also decent. United, decent. Then Forest away, Brentford, Ipswich, Bournemouth, Wolves. Obviously, Trent is a big topic and we will cover that when we talk about defenders. But that's interesting now. I think whether we lock up the third Liverpool pick because we also now have Alisson, who's emerged at 5.4. The thing is with now, let's say you double up on an Alisson and a Trent that you might have by the time we reach 24, 25, an injury to a Gakpo, an injury to a Diaz, which might make an attacker more viable. So that is something we need to keep in mind as well. Palace, like you mentioned, fixture swing is really good. I sort of like Mateta more than Eze. I feel he's a bit more direct there. With Munoz, you have to watch out for the 5th yellow card. Fulham again.
But with Mateta, we'll talk about Mateta and Eze, right? It's scarcity value, right?
Yeah.
Fourth mid is scarce right now, whereas attackers, there's lots of options. So that's another factor to think about.
Because in forwards, you can, like you said, you can go to a Raul instead of having to spend that 7.2.
Or Chris Wood, even Nottingham Forest.
That's the one I wanted to talk about, like, because ultimately, plus I haven't had Wood all season. Neither have you, right? So NFO, I have like Tottenham, Everton, Wolves, Liverpool, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton. The tough games, you'd say Liverpool and Brighton are at home. And he's just so talismanic this season. At Forest are good. I don't think any of us three have owned a single Forest asset all season.
Yeah, it's been a blind spot.
Respect. And again, look at the XG numbers. We'll talk about that. For example, let's look over here. Forest XG numbers are just not good. Always in terms of XG, like the XG non-pen last 6 matches is 5.9. That's the same as Manchester United. So the numbers are just not there in terms of Forest as such, right? But again, everything just goes through Chris. Man City is the interesting one here. Look at those Man City fixtures. It's Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich, and then Chelsea at home. The next 5 you'd have, I think you made a ticker for the next 5 alone from 18 to 22. They'd be top.
This is going to be a conversation, maybe not for this spot, but basically when we approach Game Week 18, people need to think about what they want to do, and we'll have to go back to captaincy matrix. Like Game Week 18, you could be okay because Salah has Leicester at home, right? But Game Week 20, people are going to struggle. Like Haaland is easily the best captain. Like, of course, you can captain Salah home to Man United. He has a good record. But Man, I mean, I would expect in 5, 6 weeks to be a improvement in the team, and let's say Manchester United looks solid. Chelsea are away to Crystal Palace; they're looking a lot better. Arsenal are away to Brighton. It's okay, but home to West Ham for Haaland is top. Like he will be clear top captain. So, but apart from that, I struggle. I struggle to find a week where if you don't have Haaland, you're going to be desperate.
So that's another macro question we have to discuss, Plus. Now, the trend has now been to generally move money into defense this season from what I've seen on Twitter. People are upgrading their premium goalkeeper, you're buying Timber, Trent, etc. And if you're further moving away from Haaland, then pretty much the only route to Haaland is you can't even go like, let's say, a Palmer to Isak. You pretty much, the only route is you have to sell Salah.
Right? You can do Palmer, Isak to
Palmer, Isak, 10, 18, like Haaland is what, 14. Then you have to go to a total dud spot. You have to go to a Dibbling.
Like 5 million. Yeah, maybe.
You can't do any
Palmer is like 11
moves.
now, no? 11 and 8.5. So that's 19.5. So yeah, you can get a 5.5 midfielder. Or 4 and 4.7, 4.8. Yeah, fine. Okay, I get what you're saying.
You don't get a competitive midfielder. Yeah. You get pretty much a dud in that sense. So we have to think about that. So if you pretty much get in Trent this week, I think you're pretty much making a decision you're not getting Haaland in at that stage. Do you think we should leave that option open, observe them for the next couple of weeks?
Take the points, man. Like I feel like right now the biggest weakness in most teams is defense. So if you're trying to fix your defense, fix it long term. Like we can't have bad defenders and say I'll keep the option open. Okay, of course team dependent. But I'm saying if money is available and people want to basically go up, then I think Arsenal, there's a reason why Arsenal Liverpool defenders are top of the charts right now. They're best defenses with good fixtures. Liverpool in Liverpool's case with a double probably coming up in the next 8 to 10 game weeks. So I think it makes sense to spend it there, but I do get your point. Like people are moving. You could also say like, I could go Cunha down to Raul Jimenez, and then I could go Palmer up to like a 5.5, 6 million midfielder. It could be ESR, it could be anyone else, and I could get Haaland for Isak. So it's not the end of the world if you had to do it. So I wouldn't sort of leave it and say I will not attack or I will not shore up my defense just because of that.
Because, for example, you look at the other cheap options. You have somebody like a Kirkes, somebody like a Robinson, somebody like a Munoz. These are other options who are significantly cheaper than a Trent. There are some people in our Discord who are looking at a defense of, let's say now, Raya, Trent, Gabriel, Timber, etc., almost an all premium defense. But I just feel that you will eventually need some of that money in attack.
Yes.
I think leave at least one cheap defender spot. I can understand Trent. I can understand a goalkeeper upgrade to a 5.5. But I don't like getting a full premium defense and just putting a lot of money in there, because you will want the money in attack at some point.
Yeah, I hear you. Or even, you don't have to get a premium keeper. Like we've seen easy fixtures for premium keepers becomes 2 and 6, like with Raya. So you don't have to, you can, every week you have Flecken, I have Raya, and the difference is negligible, right? I mean, in the weeks they blank, Flecken outscores him. In the weeks Raya will keep the odd more clean sheet. It's not too much of a gap. So
it's usually 3 points.
Exactly. I basically have insane team value this year, so I don't mind people going for premium keeper because it gives me an advantage for the rest of the 10. But if people are sitting there with not great team value, then I think even not going premium keeper is also an option. It's not that you have to get an Alisson or Raya.
Let's talk some of the cheap defenders that people have right now. And the first one I want to talk about is Rico Lewis. I'm having a hard time selling him, Pras. Every time I look at him play, the average position on the pitch, he always just appears to be in and around the box, but their defense is so toilet. Like even look at the fixtures in terms of clean sheet potential now. Like we mentioned the early kickoffs, it is a thing, right? Now Villa, Everton and Leicester, they are the first kickoff that takes place. So we might get a lineup leak in that sense. And then after that, it's West Ham. And what I'm thinking more and more, I think the way Walker is playing, I think Rico is slowly becoming first choice for that right back position. Don't you think so?
Could do, but I also think there are 4 defenders above him in the pecking order if they're fit, which is basically Ake, Guardiola, Diaz and Stones. Now, Stones is not fit. So then it becomes a horses for courses thing. Kovacic is now coming back fit. So some Rico minutes will be taken anyway, because sometimes he was starting with Walker and Guardiola because Rico was simply playing in the Kovacic position. So he was in training today. So I'm not that bullish anymore because there's 2 reasons. One, the City leagues have dried up, right? Let's be clear. Like we are not getting any. So can we really rely on game week 17, 18, 19? I think we may go back to the old City days, or he started this game, so he will be rested for the next one. So maybe Rico will start. That's a dangerous place to go. So I think if you have to sell, I don't mind it. It's not the end of the world. Like, you're not getting the same upside with City defense. You get some attacking upside with Rico, but it's not like Rico is playing for Arsenal, right? I mean, it's not like Rico is playing for Liverpool. That defense is clearly one notch below, or if not two notches below. So that's the first thing. And then second thing, leagues have died up. So you may get the odd cameo when there's other defenders for the same price. Like next week, Fulham play who? Southampton at home?
Yes.
Get Robinson, man. Same price. 3 weeks later, you get Munoz, like same price. Like, what are you sacrificing by going for them? You get nailed attacking defenders.
Yep, and it makes a big difference. For example, like let's say Mikalenko versus a Rico, that 0.4, 0.5 may be more useful down the line.
Yeah. So it's fine to keep, but if you need to sell, like if he's the spot that you need to get rid of this week to reach a Trent or reach a Timber, I don't quite mind it. Like, it's fine. It's fine to. It feels hard when you watch the game. You see the guy scores. And his red card was also quite harsh, the second yellow. But that's the reality. That's where City are right now.
Yep, on this table over here, this is XGC non-pen for the last 6 matches. City are third bottom. That's 12 in the last 6. It's an average.
Kovacic is going to fix it.
I don't think Kovacic is going to fix it, because I think a large part of it is the City order is gone. Teams are willing to attack them a lot more. And even Kovacic is not giving the same control in midfield. I mean, with Gundogan there, they just don't have the legs. I don't think they will sign in January, though. That's something that's very clear. Pep has made it clear that he is in the market for signings, and they have all that Alvarez money sitting around. That's when I think things will change over January, which is outside the immediate purview of, I think, that's game week 20, right? Up to the new year.
Yeah. And then the problem for Man City is, and this is also, it plays in with the Haaland discussion, basically after that good fixture run, they have Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, and Nottingham Forest away as the next 6. So even if you're going for Haaland or any City pick, you're basically going in and out. You have to be in, and then you have to exit them. So it's not clear. It feels like everybody will just ignore City even for the good run. Maybe they go for a Guardiola because that's the pick. Like if you wanted one pick, even without clean sheets, that guy's super attacking. So that could be the pick, but then you're also then wondering, am I going to sacrifice a Liverpool defender for that? Am I going to sacrifice an Arsenal defender for that? We'll see. But that seems to be the only pick right now. Of course, Haaland is still a good pick, but it's the price.
Let's talk, speaking of price, so let's talk Liverpool defense. And I put up a poll earlier on Twitter. You must have seen that. The poll was basically Timber, Alisson plus 0.5 million versus TAA versus Flecken. The poll was quite significantly 70% in favor of the Timber-Alisson combo. What are your views on that? Do you think Trent's worth this outlay?
Well, people saw Flecken in a poll and they said not Flecken. Basically, that's what happened. Had you put anyone else, put Verbruggen, put Sells, and people will change their mind. But look, I think it's difficult. Like if you're saying Timber is a very good pick. I like it, and I like the fact that you make the argument that get the centre backs or the defenders because Arsenal score from set pieces.
Every corner is like a Tony Pulis wet dream, man. Pretty much.
It is, but then Trent also compared to Alisson has a similar attacking upside. So for me, it just comes down to price, affordability. Like if you were to say, is Trent more attacking than Timber? Trent is more attacking. If you were to say Alisson compared to Flecken, Alisson is better. But I just don't know. Like getting a Liverpool and Arsenal defender feels better, but they're not going for Trent when they're top of the ticker from game week 19 and they have a double game week coming up. That's also feels like, would you lock yourself out of Trent? You wouldn't, right? You would basically not have. The
spot is still open. You can eventually get there later by downgrading. And it also now comes back to that fifth midfielder conversation, the Mbeumo spot, whether you want to go down or you want to maintain that same level, because there are good picks around the Mbeumo price. Gordon, etc. You might want Bruno later. Eze is also around the same price. So now, like what you've done now, I think you've gone Enzo and Rogers, right? As your fourth and fifth. Temporarily. So eventually you're also going to need money to upgrade one of them. You can either get it from Cunha or you have to get it from defense. So that's also sort of something you have to weigh up. If you want to stay in the similar price in that midfielder and you want to have somebody like a Mateta or a Chris Wood, where people have that Cunha spot, then getting Trent there is difficult.
Yeah, this is true. And this is basically on my team value. So I can understand from a team value basis, if you don't go it, there's no right answer. I think they're close. Like, how much better is Trent compared to Timber than Alisson is compared to Flecken or another 4.5?
Let's just not say Flecken. Let's just assume the money. We're talking about, let's say, a saving of 1.4 million, which is significant.
Yeah. I mean, could you not do Raya plus Timber versus
Because you have Saka and Gabriel, right? And most people do.
Right.
And ultimately, I don't see the appeal of Rhea as much now with how much hard these guys are going on corners. I think ultimately, if you want to buy into Arsenal, you either go for Saliba or Timber. Timber also, I think, a bit dependent on the Calafiori situation. You don't want Timber playing at left back.
I hear you. I mean, look, no right answer, but my thing for Trent, it's a bit like Saka. Like if it's good fixtures, then
We're all Trent fanboys, right? Ultimately,
Yeah.
most of us have been playing the game, and ultimately, Trent did under-deliver, but he did have the spell. You look at the last 4-5 game weeks before he got injured, where he got the 1-2. And another factor I think, plus, is not being mentioned enough is Bradley. Bradley was very good when he played against Real Madrid. So let's say we had to get to double game week period territory. Don't you think Bradley could start a game?
I mean, but we are going into that.
No, hypotheticals. Ultimately, by Timber, that time could be ancient history. You'd have Ben White back at that point. But ultimately, once you get Trent, it's much more of a commitment. You're never going to sell Trent. Trent is like a goalkeeper. Until he gets injured, you're never really going to make a transfer out.
Fair. But I would not even take that into the decision making. Like, we don't even know when the double is. For me, they're top of the ticker. That's what I am taking into my decision. Simple. Next, after game week 19, or even this entry point is even this week if you wanted to. But like I said, you could wait on the Trent move or a Liverpool move for 2 weeks, let them play Spurs. But after that, they're top of the ticker. We've shown that. So for me, that's the move, to get him for that. If things change, yeah, you can sell him, you can do whatever. But for now, based on information that we know, he's a very, very good pick. And the thing with the counter to Timber is, like, Timber played left back, no threat at all. Like, it was basically he was not coming forward because he can't. Martinelli doesn't do the same work as Saka. So, or Trossard, whoever is on that left-hand side. So basically, you're looking at games where once Calafiori is fit and he's sustainably fit, then every single game when you have Timber starting, he now has Partey as his competition. Now, he probably plays all those games. I'm not saying he's a rotation.
We saw how limited Partey was, right, at right back. He completely nerfed Saka.
So most of the games it's fine, but we're entering into a Christmas period. So I'm saying he probably misses one game in the next 10. I think that's fair. So how can we, like, Bradley's competition is not the same. Like, it's, Timber is clearly and this is when until White comes back. Like, you are basically locking in a transfer in January, because when the moment White comes back, you have to think about what do you do with Timber.
Right, but that's obviously you're still getting 8 to 9 game weeks off Timber, which I think is fine at 5.6. And
like I said, he's a good pick.
Do you think the Arsenal defense is better or Liverpool?
Pretty similar. Like, I don't think there's much in it. I think Liverpool's fixtures, there is a period of 4-5 games for Arsenal which are tougher compared to Liverpool.
Arsenal, in fact, I wanted to mention the 19, 20, 21, that particular stretch is a bit tricky. You have Brentford away, Brighton away, and then Tottenham at home.
And Villa at home.
So that stretch is a little bit tricky. But then again, as we have seen in the tougher games, is when defensively they get tighter.
Same for Liverpool. This is why I don't look at fixtures. We have now got a year and a half's data to say that they're a very, very good defense. They will keep clean sheets. Some matches they will disappoint. Jimenez will take one shot, will score, and they won't keep a clean sheet. Other matches they will keep a clean sheet. Like, they're a very, very good defense. So I think most people should be looking to double up in some way, whether it is Raya plus whatever. I think I don't want to say better, but we have longer term data to say that Arsenal is a very, very good defense. In Liverpool's case, we only have 14 game weeks of data, which is good, which is sustainable, but Liverpool have better fixtures over the next 8. So I think you could do well to have 3 of Liverpool and Arsenal. It's your choice, your funds, your structure on which 3 those are.
Makes sense. I think that's the main thing with a Flecken like myself. I'm looking at the fixtures. I need to replace him soon. I think the fixtures are horrific now. Going forward, I'm going to be looking at 2s and 3s each week. So I'm not really interested in Rhea now. I just don't think that's the right Arsenal spot. And again, with Timber, it can be Saliba as well. Right? It's not talking about just Timber. You can even buy Saliba.
Yeah, absolutely. Sense. I mean, going for Rhea Alisson over Rhea, I think that's sensible. You save like 0.1 or even 0.2. Rhea is about to rise. And they're very similar. So absolutely. I think, like, I myself, if that double game week is announced, and if I see that, it's in the horizon 25, and I don't see a Liverpool pick, I'll do Raya to Alisson as well to get like double Liverpool defense for the double. So I think that's completely viable.
So where are you? If you had to make the decision today, carte blanche, would you go for the Timber, Alisson and 0.5 million, or TA versus your cheaper keeper?
If I was wildcarding today, I would 100% have Trent. That's my position.
But then would you still continue with the cheaper keeper? How necessary do you think a keeper upgrade is?
Not that much. Like, that's what I said. If I was to cheap out somewhere, I would probably cheap out on the keeper. But the counter to that is that there are attacking defenders available, like Munoz and Robinson, right? So if you wanted to have, like we said, if you have three from Arsenal and Liverpool, then the fourth one could be either a cheap keeper or it could be a attacking upside defender like a Munoz. So again, structure dependent. Like I think you can do Allison plus. So let's forget about Timber or Trent. That's maybe, let's compare, let's say a Munoz plus an Allison to a Sells plus another defender. Like you could get a Timber as the third. I think that's close as well, right?
It is. I like Allison in general as a keeper option. He seems a bit better for bonus also. I think the way he passes it, just it's maybe something in the past. I remember Allison always used to be in the bonus conversation when they kept a clean sheet.
But in the past, that was Klopp's team.
Absolutely.
I think they're similar. Like Raya, Allison will be similar.
Chances. Yeah, I think that's pretty similar. Let's identify some other cheap defenders for those in the market, because defensive transfers really are a theme this week. Another name that's quite popular I've seen is Lewis Hall. The short-term fixtures are all right, but I think Trippier being back has me concerned a little bit.
Me too. Like, I think Hall, when they were playing, and you could have basically gotten the couple of good games, plus now you get Leicester at home, even though Leicester at home, like, they've been fairly attacking. Like, where do you see the clean sheet? We did this analysis for Hall 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Like, where do you see the next clean sheet coming for them?
Probably the next two. After that, it's not really great.
But Ipswich away?
I mean, Everton kept a clean sheet there.
Fine. I mean, look, he's okay. But I just think Newcastle's fixtures, whenever I've looked at them, they look fantastic from an attacking point of view. But they don't look the same to me from a defensive point of view. Leicester at home, okay, I give you. Even though Leicester are attacking, that could be a good clean sheet. Ipswich away, okay. Villa at home, not great. I mean, Villa are a good attacking side. Man United away, not good. I mean, attacking fixture good, defensive fixture not good. Spurs away, definitely good attacking fixture, not a good defensive fixture. So then you get to Wolves at home as the next window. And then you're in 15th of January. Like, who knows when Botman is back, when, does Burn play on the left? Does Trippier start playing some games? I just don't think, like, if you wanted to go for that price, just get Colwill.
That's fair. I think I was having this conversation with Baker now. He was looking for a replacement for Greaves. Somebody who would maybe, can feature in every single week. And I was saying that you can't really go wrong with Colwill in that aspect. Over the next 6, I do expect him to play at least 5. At 4.5, the upside is limited. But if we want a guy as a fourth defender to come on, we were all without a defender this week, right, with the Greaves situation. He does look ideal.
I mean, you know me, like my 4th, 5th defenders are boring. I don't need upside, man. It's okay. Like, you just show up when I need you to show up. I don't want a Greaves.
That'll do. For Bournemouth, I think Kirkes is interesting. Their defensive numbers have been very, very good, especially in the home games. There's some decent homers over here. If you can rotate him, I think with Bournemouth's rotation with Fulham is also really good. I had to look at that for the Semenyo Iwobi thing. So you could set up something like a Kirkes and a Robinson, or even a Kirkes and an Anderson if he's fit soon. I like that. And Hoyson is somebody I want to give a shout out at. I really like the player. There's a lot of talent. He used to take penalties in his youth league, so you never know.
Really? Well, Kluivert is good now. The problem is Kluivert is good.
Kluivert is not nailed. Kluivert, I think, could easily be subbed off like we saw.
Then Evanilson will take. I think. Like, he missed, I know Evanilson missed his first pen this season. Yeah. But, I mean, he's still a good pick. But I just, like, all these Bournemouth guys we're talking about, I just go, like, just wait a couple of weeks and pick up Munoz, or wait a couple of weeks and pick up Anderson, wait a couple of weeks, pick up Robinson. These are good defenses with good fixtures coming up.
And they always seem to be a defense-first teams, right? The Bournemouth always have this in mind that they're an attack-oriented team. Why buy defenders from there? But obviously, you have inside information about the penalty order.
Of course I do.
So, Wolves, let's leave apart. Brighton, Stupiñán's been getting forward a lot. Good attacking numbers over the last year.
He has. Now, it has coincided with Veltman being out, Kadioglu being out. So the fullback situation is now basically they're having to play Lamptey, or they play a 3 at the back kind of hybrid. So it's a little bit murky, but Stupiñán is getting a lot of minutes. So I don't mind it. But again, if you're spending 5+ million on a Brighton defender, surely there's other things where you can do with that money.
So D just posted in the chat, I know Arsenal have the open training now ahead of the Champions League game, and apparently Timber's not been pictured in training.
Well,
that's interesting. Something we'll check up. We'll have a look on that. But yeah, apart from that, the defensive options, I don't really see much else we can recommend. I would like to delay it by a couple of weeks if you can for your Fulham guys and your Palace guys.
Yeah, and in fact, there's some more training pictures from Arsenal. Gabriel still not in training, Califordi not pictured in training, and Timber not pictured in training. Yeah, people will have to make like 2 defensive transfers this week if Gabriel is
Oh,
not
yeah,
fully ready.
we are screwed, buddy. It's been interesting. You just don't know what's happening with us. Some people are speculating it's concussion. Some people saying it's injury. Absolute smoke and mirrors there.
Seriously. And you know, Gabriel is that kind of pick that even if he's out this week, but definitely okay next week, people will just hold. You just shore up your 4th, 5th defender and just keep Gabriel. But if he's out longer, I mean, this is where it's like, what's the point of press conferences? But anyway.
Cool. Let's just move it to midfielders.
Well, in defenders, like order of sale. So you talked quickly about Lewis, Pinnock, Mikolenko. So the little bit of a spanner is that in 10 weeks, Mikolenko could have a double. Does that change your mind in terms of selling Greaves instead of Mikolenko?
See, it always makes sense to sell Greaves because he's pretty much a dud now. He's not first choice from the looks of it. I think Burgess is probably in the first choice. So if you can, I think Mikolenko starts. That's what we know. In Mikolenko, any random fixture at home could grind out a 1-0. So given the choice and if money isn't a consideration, I think Greaves has to be the first priority sell. No question.
But 0.3 matters, right? If you're in your future path, you need that 0.3
That's
or
the thing.
0.5.
If money isn't a consideration, I think you do a sell over there. Mikolenko, I think, is fine enough to keep, but again, not in any fixture you'd want to play him going forward. That's why I'm still inclined to sell him over the likes of a Rico. I still want to give Rico a chance in this Everton, Leicester, West Ham stretch.
Me too. That's where I am as well. Like if I can, because then, you know, at that point, let's say you don't have any free transfers to move Rico to a Munoz. It can wait. It doesn't need to be urgent. You need to do it. Let's say you go, okay, Rico can play this week, then I don't need to do it. Let me save and then we assess later. I can feel a situation like that coming with Rico, which is why we discussed it. Like if you want to sell, go for it. But if you don't have to sell, you don't have to do it. So in my case also, like I have Pinnock, not Mikolenko, and he's now completely like dead. Like their home games are now tough games, their away games, they don't keep clean sheets anyway. So he's out, like he's gone. So that would be my upgrade. But in other people's cases, I do understand if money is not an object, like you said, that to sell Greaves instead or a 4.0 dud instead, or even to sell Rico if you really have to and you need to get to that player.
The Timber thing has me slightly alarmed now. I think he might be struggling with these turnarounds, playing 3 games a week now, since we know he had a long-term injury, right? I think that's something I possibly haven't looked into as much. That's something we need to keep in mind. Players who've had long-term injuries, once you start making them play 3 games a week for this entire month, it's a bit dodgy.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, this is true of Trent as well. He's come back after, I mean, it's not a major injury, but it was
That's the main thing with Trent. And the Trent's being managed quite well. I'm not saying every game, 75th minute, he's going off. While we're on Liverpool, talk to me about this Gomez, Kwanzaa thing. Any of the cheaper centre-backs interest you?
I mean, we've lost one data point. We would have liked to see Gomez start against Everton. So we've lost that. We'll see tonight in the Champions League who starts. I expect Gomez and Trent to start with Van Dijk and Robertson, let's say. And that should be the first team. But again, if Gomez doesn't look convincing, even if he plays the minutes, it would be difficult to go there. Like he has now, for the first time, shown a little bit of faith in Kwanzaa, right? We've seen nothing, no faith in Kwanzaa at all. And so it's difficult, but it may flip, right? I mean, people are confident Kwanzaa is going to start game week 1. In December, you don't want to be making that transfer where you're not 100% sure if your guy is going to be on the team sheet, not a Liverpool defender anyway. So let's see. Maybe the view changes after tonight and they have a solid performance. They keep a clean sheet and people go, okay, this is now the first choice back 4. And they'll have a chance to rotate. Carabao Cup is next midweek. So a lot of teams will get a respite then.
The thing is, though, with these short-term picks, I'm okay investing into them if they have upside. You're buying a centre-back for like maybe a period of like 4 to 6 weeks who's not even fully nailed. It just doesn't appeal to me. I think there you go for your Robinsons, etc.
Yeah,
makes more sense.
Fair enough.
But again, Nouri, let's talk about. I think Nouri's okay. I guess Tilly gets booked to keep him for the next 2, maybe even the next 3.
Not Man United home, not necessarily. Basically, their fixtures fall off a cliff after Leicester away. So Man United home, okay. So for your attacker, maybe you can keep, but I have no faith. Like
we've been treating Nouri as an attacker anyway, right?
Fair enough. But then they play Man United, Spurs, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool, all together, like in a row. So they basically get out of your team as soon as possible. But luckily, they're nice exit points. Like Wolves to Palace is a very lovely exit point.
Right. Cool. Let's move on. Midfielders.
Yeah, let's move on to midfielders. What are you thinking about Mbeumo?
I'm interested. First, let's talk about his heat map now. And everyone saw Mbeumo playing right wing back, and they panicked when we saw the team sheet. Right? Oh, Mbeumo's wing back. Mbeumo's not going to get any chances, and he didn't really have a very high volume. He only had one shot in the box, which he scored from. The thing is now with the harder fixtures that are coming up, and we speculated it might happen at Villa, but I guarantee you it is happening at Chelsea. He's playing in a back three at Chelsea, in which Mbeumo, I think, might be wing back, but in the last 20 minutes, he goes up top.
Yeah, or Thiago's not ready for that intensive game and he starts up top anyway.
So I don't think Mbeumo is definitely going to get some joy, but I think you can move off him around now. I like the Enzo pick. And tell me what attracted you to Enzo. I have my thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
Just the price. Like, I just think, you get like some hidden gems in the season where the price is ridiculous. Like, it makes no sense for him to be 4.9 if he's playing in that role for Chelsea. So it's basically, I put out a tweet yesterday and I was like, all Chelsea fans, tell me, what do you think of Enzo, right? I want to know minutes, I want to know set pieces, and I want to know his role. So I think there was one big tick on minutes. So he's played 90 minutes in the last 4 games. So it seems clearly that he's in the A team, and that 90 minutes includes like midweek games. So he's becoming a good guy. And most Chelsea fans don't expect him to travel for this. I think, where are they going? Uzbekistan or somewhere?
Astana. Yeah, it's going to be like a -11C game. So we're pretty much leaving everyone behind.
People won't even travel for it. So I was like, okay, he's firmly part of this A team. He's got a role now, which has almost fell into their lap because Reece James is injured. So Caicedo has moved to the right, and Lavia can then play with your Enzo, and Enzo can be the one that bombs forward. But on the roll, I caution. Second half of the Spurs game, it was not Enzo who was bombing forward. It was actually Cucurella in that square. So you have to be a little bit expectation managed in terms of role, but he's also taking set pieces. I love that. Like 4.9 midfielder, Rodgers is not taking set pieces. Semenyo is not taking set pieces. I like it. Like, he gets the odd assist, he gets the odd goal. Manage expectations. I've been managing expectations for João Pedro and Cunha, and this is how it ends up. Like, when you buy assets under 6 million, they are rubbish. Like, so expect nothing and be positively surprised. And that's what I'm going in with Enzo, where he's got good fixtures. He can cover Rodgers for the next 3 weeks. And then in 3 weeks, if he turns out to be a rubbish pick, he misses a game or he doesn't do anything, I keep Rodgers. I don't mind keeping Rodgers, and then I sell him instead. So for me, it's almost like a gateway to getting a cheap midfielder who I will need to upgrade in 3-4 weeks for Eze, TBD. But that's what I'm thinking about it. It's not like, oh my God, Enzo is amazing and I want him now for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. I think you're right. Enzo is primarily there as an enabler, not as a pick in isolation. I don't think you should be flocking to him. The price, of course, is a big attraction. And what's happened in the last few weeks, he definitely has been given a license to go forward. And what that's happened is now he's occupying the left space in the 10 and Palmer's shifted out to the right 10, which works well for both of them. It benefits both their skill sets, and he has this in his locker. Now, the thing is, you ask most Chelsea fans, including myself, we'd never be that optimistic because in the past, we've always seen him used in the similar Jorginho role, like how Sarri played Jorginho as a deep-lying playmaker. And he has a lot more in his game. And I think you look at him now, he's sort of become the leader in the Chelsea team. I think he was a captain also. He's been wearing the armband in James' absence. He's giving interviews about challenging in the title race. So he's definitely feeling like a very critical and pivotal part of the team. He's one of the few players to start all the 3 games in this week. So that speaks a lot about his minutes as such. He's very secure, I think, in terms of starts. I've changed my stance on him a little bit. I don't think there's a reason not to buy Enzo. In terms of, like you said, keep your expectations reasonable. I do think he's significantly better than your Ahmad or Rodgers because he's playing for a team now that are generating almost the most XG from open play. We're in the top 3 now consistently.
And insane fixtures. Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves.
Those are
you will not start him in every game.
And absolutely, those are not games when you need all of Caicedo, Lavia and Enzo. Those are the games where he will have more license. He is not going to have to do defensive work. We will be having the ball for most of them.
Yeah, and in swinging corners are always lovely. Like if your guy is there, like Rice has racked up assists, man, getting from that. Now I'm not saying Chelsea are like Arsenal, but set pieces is never a bad thing. Like even in was it the Spurs game or was it the game before where I saw that it was a direct free kick and it was Enzo and Palmer who were standing on top on who's, I think it was in the end Enzo ended up taking the direct free kick as well. So you can see that there is route to points when you start getting route to points for 4.9 million midfielders who play for a top 4 team, it's not a no-brainer because people may have other priorities. I do feel if I didn't have 3 free transfers, I would have been a little bit more cautious. But I have 3 free transfers. I have a little bit of luxury where I like my team, I like my structure, and so I'm feeling a little bit like okay, I can move. It's basically an indirect way to do Rogers to Enzo, right? You keep Rogers, but you keep Enzo as well, but you get Trent in return, and then when Cunha can be sold, Rogers can become Eze. A little bit of a workaround there, which is what I'm trying to achieve in my team.
Very reasonable. I won't put anyone off buying in. So let's talk about some of the other picks we are seeing on this list, Pras. Now, this data is for midfielders under 7 million for what period? For the season or for the last?
The whole season, per
Okay.
90.
So if you look at the data for the last 6, it'll be much better for Enzo. I'm speculating.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to use that because I feel
Steady picking a little bit. But at the same time, the role has changed. You can't compare what he was doing in the first 6 weeks to what he's doing now.
He literally has had like under 0.2 XGI in the games before Arsenal, and after that he's averaging like 0.8, 0.9, which is ridiculously high. That will not last. But this is why I wanted to keep it balanced and show the whole picture.
And also his goals in the last 2, I think, have been a total of 0.2, 0.3 XG. They're very good finishes. But at the same time, against Leicester, I think that goal is a very high XG one as well. So he is drifting and making those runs inside. He's more mobile and he's benefiting from the attention that Palmer is getting from defenders. That's another big thing. So I think tactically, I'm very impressed with Maresca, how he's shown he's very adaptable. That's the only caveat you have to keep with Enzo's role might be different on the opposition, depending on where the opposition weaknesses lie. But again, at 5, absolute fantastic pick.
Exactly. I mean, talking of some other picks, now the problem becomes minutes as I go down this list, right? Savio, minutes problem. Johnson, I mean, he came off ill, I think, in the last game, but he's been a minutes problem anyway. Madison, whenever he starts, it will be instead of Johnson. That's how it's been set up right now. Madueke, I mean, we already know he's part of this B team. Now, Madueke probably starts this weekend because Neto is suspended. So he may go for Madueke plus Sancho kind of setup. But I don't think long term, I think Neto and Sancho could be above or at least competing with Madueke. So not worth it. Barnes is a rotation risk. Traore is a rotation risk. Whenever this guy comes on, Nelson. Kudus is okay. But again, you saw last night, like he was actually very unlucky. This is true for our draft also. So like he had 2 disallowed goals. He got an assist. So I think he's a nice pick for 6.2. But Bowen is your main man, right? And West Ham have now 2 more good fixtures, maybe 3, and then after that is very, very bad. So do you really want to go in now? Semenyo I like. It was between Semenyo and Enzo. And had I done the transfer last week, I would have done Mbeumo to Semenyo. Even though owners are disappointed, I think he's still a good pick. It's a good team with good attacking fixtures. He is going to score. It's not like he's not going to ever score again.
So I was watching the above average pod. It's an excellent one if you guys haven't watched it. John McKenzie from Tifo was on, and he's full on Areola fanboy. So he was talking about Semenyo. He said somebody's been watching very closely, and he said he has tapered off. Maybe the attention, there was an early point in the season where he was being in the conversation for transfer to a Champions League club. But there has been a dip in the level of performance we are seeing from Semenyo. Now he's playing a bit wider. He's not as direct anymore. But the minutes are there, and as you've seen with Bournemouth, they are a very attacking side. In terms of XG non-pen, they're right there in the top 3 for the last 6 game weeks. So in that sense, he's a good pick. And the fixtures are a bit mixed in terms of the home and away now. Let's have a look over here. Like see West Ham home, Manchester United away, Palace home, Fulham away, Everton at home, Chelsea away. He's somebody I think I would like to rotate. And the rotation actually now, if you look at Fulham now, Fulham those weeks where I mentioned that he has away fixtures, have Southampton at home, Bournemouth at home, and then they have West Ham away. So very good rotation. But again, Iwobi, do you think he's a pick?
I don't feel these picks, man. Like they have not as many route to points. So I'm trying to be balanced here. Like, we're picking Enzo on the back of 4 hauls. But Iwobi not. But it's basically because you trust Chelsea a little bit more. You trust route to points a little bit more. Look, Iwobi has proven a lot of people wrong. I think he's scoring more points than Bruno. Or all the other darling picks like Rogers, ESR and stuff. I just don't see it as being sustainable. Like I see people going for him, but don't feel it.
Let's talk about the others. Eze, I think he's one you want to buy a few more weeks. He doesn't look fully sharp to me still.
Yeah, so give him 2-3 weeks. But I think Eze is another pick if he has good fixtures. He's on set pieces, direct, indirect free kicks. And, that I think they have stumbled upon with the Nketiah injury, a good setup. Like finally, it makes sense. Like initially in the early season, you remember they were saying, "Oh, we didn't sign Nketiah for the bench. We're going to play Nketiah," and they try to force it, and it doesn't work. And now Sarr is up to fitness. It feels like the Sarr, Eze, and Mateta setup just works, and I think this is what they will go with. The five at the back look a lot better with Hughes and Wharton as well being back. So I just think that team is going to click, and if it's going to click, who's going to score points? It's going to be Eze and Mateta by and large. Like Sarr could also do well. So it's going to come down to Eze or Mateta for me on who do I pick, and I'm open to either. But I do think Eze will be popular as a fourth midfielder very soon.
But it all depends on who's easier to exit to in the midfield or in
Exactly.
like your Cunha, for example, is
Exactly.
almost the same price, so it might be easier. In that sense.
Exactly.
Talk to me about Mitoma. I know he was somebody you almost made an early transfer for, but you clearly changed
Dude.
your mind.
So when basically I had three free transfers, I think on Friday night or Saturday night, I messaged
Saturday
you
night.
guys and I'm like, guys, I can get Mitoma if I do it tonight. Mitoma's rising. I can do Mbeumo to Mitoma and I can do Pinnock up to Trent. But then I would also have to take Rogers down to Dibbling. So I can use all my three transfers. And my biggest issue of this fourth midfielder will be Mitoma, who's excellent. And then he can become Eze in 3 weeks. But then I was like, do you really want to use three transfers to get Mitoma? Like you can use two transfers to get Semenyo. You can get two transfers to get an Enzo. So I ended up not doing it. He was good. He was good in the game. The same things we say about João Pedro in terms of being important to their attack. João Pedro also has pens, but in Mitoma's case, he's threatening, man. He's got decent numbers. But then at the end of the day, he's underperforming a Semenyo or a Kudus. So he's not as exciting as he was a couple of years ago when he was basically nobody had worked out how to actually stop him.
I agree. There are certain games where he goes. It's sort of the Eden Hazard thing. Very good for the team, but not necessarily selfish enough. You want more the Alexis Sanchez guys, the guys
Yeah.
who wants to score a goal in the 3-3 or even in a loss.
Exactly. So, like Mitoma's fine pick. I think the good thing if you have Mitoma is basically he dovetails very well with Eze. So play him next three and then get Eze. So you don't have to do any kind of maneuvering in the team. And I think that works. I see a lot of teams with Mitoma. I think that's what they're going to go in terms of path. And then under this is very underwhelming. Like Garnacho is not going to start every game now. We've seen now enough evidence. And in the number 10 role under Amorim, there's Rashford, there's Garnacho, there's Mount, there's Bruno. They will rotate. So at least as we know. And then Rogers is your bread and butter pick. I think he's fine, but he only scores when he's on my bench, so I don't like him very much.
And also, I think if you saw the stats video today morning, he didn't have a single shot in the box when he's playing on the left. It's much more of a creative role. 3 chances created, 1 big chance created. So the route to points is there. But we want a goal-scoring midfielder, right?
Exactly. Had he taken that penalty that they won, we're talking different. We're saying everybody just keep Rogers, don't worry about anyone else. And then next is Fernandes, and this is Enzo, which is basically including all the bad data as well.
Yeah, let me show you some of the good data now. If you look at the data here now, this is for the last 6 game weeks. In terms of expected goal involvement, he's up there with Bruno. He's up there with your Sars, Brennan Johnsons, your Bowens, he's ahead of João Pedro.
And this is expected, right? So even if he has outperformed it, even on expected, he's doing all right.
Absolutely. The underlying data is strong. That's the point I'm trying to make over here.
Raptor is in the chat. He is my fellow Enzo owner. I think we both bought Enzo last night. So a little bit of propaganda, Enzo propaganda on the pod.
I'm all for it, man. I love Enzo. There's been a lot of things that's going on in his personal life as well. Never know what that effect has on performances also, right?
Usually positive. I mean,
On
we
and off
shouldn't
the
say, but I know. Same for Rashford. Did you see that his girlfriend posted on Instagram and they were like thousands of Man United fans saying, thank you for giving us our Rashford back. So, yeah.
Pretty much. So I think let's just wrap up. I think let's talk about a couple of mids down, a couple of mids in a similar price bracket.
Yeah.
What do you like?
So down, Semenyo and Enzo. I think those are the two.
Same
obviously Rogers is still there.
I mean, would you buy Rogers now? Let's say you own Semenyo like me. Would you even buy Rogers now just to bench him for the next 2 to 3? I don't know. I'd just buy Enzo in that sense.
I would, yeah. I would say so. Like at this point, you would rather just punt on Enzo. You know what you get with Rogers, but he has 3 difficult fixtures, away to Forest and then 2 other tough games. So yeah, I think you would just bypass and go Enzo instead. I think the other guys, Bowen is good. But again, you always have to think about, is it so bad keeping Mbeumo if you're not going to use his funds for Bowen. We talked about this in the previous
I think
pod.
for the
Like
next
Bowen has
two,
matched
like
him.
this week, let's say if you can get it, like what I'm doing this week is I'm benching Mbeumo, playing Semenyo, and next week doing the reverse.
Yeah.
Playing Mbeumo for Forest, and that's when after I'm looking to sell, and then you have your guys like Eze, etc., whose fixture runs open up a bit more. So I'm trying to keep Mbeumo for the next two at least.
Gordon is good. That's somebody who's very interesting. Their next three are incredible.
Did the benching spook you?
No, I think it's a rest. Like most Newcastle fans say that he was just tired. Like he's not going to not
that
start,
could happen
right?
again in the next stretch of fixtures, right?
I'm thinking more as you get Gordon for the next three and then you move him on to Eze or something like that. So it's like a path towards getting a pick that you want.
Be short term, and also when you have Wilson thrown in, Isak will go to the left, Gordon goes to the right, and as you mentioned, he's a utility player.
Yeah, he's become very utility, but he has set pieces, which is an advantage from last year.
Yep, I think around the same price as Gordon, Bowen, Eze in a few weeks. Brennan, I don't know, Spurs, I'm not getting a good feeling about them in general. The whole club, there's a bit of like, I don't know, there's a bit of malaise, not in a good place right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, is there something going on in the camp? Like people are not happy with Ange, some love him, some don't like him. I think as a neutral, they're a good team, man. They're a good team to watch. It's always exciting watching Spurs because they keep attacking, and like I hope fans show patience. Like as a neutral, I wouldn't mind if they let go of Ange because I think he's a good manager. Like if you stay patient, it could turn out. He has option value. But I think from Spurs, unfortunately, the only two picks right now are Kulu and Solanke. Kulu is underwhelming. His data, he looks good, but his data in that table was very, very poor. And Solanke is okay. He's fine. And Son, I'm not including in that list only because if you have Son, you don't have Saka or you don't have Palmer or you don't have Salah. And that's not really negotiable.
Let's just have a quick look at this chart from our friends at FPL Radar. Let's look at the top right quadrant, good minutes and good underlying. Some names that are over there, Semenyo, Eze, Mitoma, pretty much who are the guys we've discussed. Gordon. Yeah. Tavernier is an interesting one because it's more and more I watch Bournemouth, there's no clear talisman in that team. I had a theory it might be Semenyo, but I don't think so. Certain games you have some other guys posting 4 shots, you have guys coming off the bench delivering points. That's the main problem with Bournemouth.
I mean, Tavernier is on set pieces, takes corners, takes free kicks. Clivert is on penalties. Their striker is Evanilson, and their short spammer is Semenyo. And their super sub is Otara. So these guys are all involved when they score, unless it's some rando as well, because they have a lot of midfielders that show up and score as well. So it is tough. Like LR has been saying actually from Gameweek 1, there's too many players at Bournemouth who have route to points. And actually, to be honest, Evanilson is the one pick that you would go for if you wanted to go for a Bournemouth attacker.
Absolutely. But again, forwards, there's so many options that are opening up. We're struggling in midfield a little bit, but not so much up top. And let's talk about forwards now. I don't think we need to talk a lot. I've already moved earlier. I've moved Jackson to Isak.
I'm very interested in this. Can you explain?
So the multiple things. Part of it from a personal perspective, I've had enough Chelsea investment. I don't want to sort of dilute it a little bit. And I think I've been very lucky to dodge some Isak points over the last few. If you ask me, there are at least another couple goals, a couple of assists he could have got over the last 2 matches, Liverpool and Brentford. So looking at
what was that second thing, man? Like he had the ball. Thing, right? Yeah. I was like, what are you? I was watching the game. I was like, what are you doing? Just shoot. But anyway, as an owner, that was very frustrating. But he had already scored, so it was not too bad.
Yeah. So with
carry on.
Jackson, also the fixtures I was looking at now. For example, now people say looking at Brentford at home as a captaincy fixture for Palmer. I just don't like it. I think Brentford, once they come up to Stamford Bridge, will be 5 at the back, super deep block, but Jackson necessarily won't be getting the spaces in behind to run. Similar for Everton. We know what Sean Dyche does. Very deep block, not necessarily getting the runs. Fulham, midweek game, starts or not, 50-50. I think Fulham or Ipswich, one of these games is going to get rotated. And over that period, I just really liked Isak's fixtures, Leicester, Ipswich and Villa. And Manchester United and Tottenham, I don't think they're as bad as they appear on paper. I think both the defenses will give chances. And once you get up post 21, just a long-term outlook I thought for Isak was brilliant. I think he's more talismanic for Newcastle than Jackson is for Chelsea.
But did you not consider, like, I guess if you did Strand Larsen to Isak, then you're sacrificing your defense too much, right?
And the structure also I do want to maintain. I do want to keep that third, like I have Joao Pedro as my cheap forward. That third guy is going to become Chris Wood or Mateta in certain points. So I see there's more value in that rather than getting 8. And like you said, if I do that, then my premium defense is out of the picture. I can't even get a Timber versus a Trent unless I downgrade Mbeumo. And if I downgrade Mbeumo, I can maybe get one premium defender. I can't upgrade my goalkeeper. Things like that. So I like with that one premium forward. I don't like the idea of going with 2 in that position.
Right. I mean, you've already done it, but I would say it seems a little luxury move.
It's a
Like,
luxury
okay, you
move,
have
but
your reason.
absolutely. But I was surprised. I checked with Cartel Leader after I make the transfer, and it was actually the most recommended move for my team. Very rare.
Carter leader hates Jackson because of four
Yeah.
yellows. They basically the decay in his minutes is very
Okay.
high because they think okay it could happen any moment, right? So every game week it reduces in terms of what his minutes expectation is. But I think it's fair. I am definitely higher on Isak, so it is a positive move. But question is, could you have used that transfer somewhere else? But look,
Potentially could have, but I just feel the upside is there in this Leicester, Ipswich, and Villa fixtures. I think he outscores Jackson by 4 points over these.
fair, fair.
That's pretty much it. And in terms of Wolves forwards, you already touched. You hold on to them. At least give them the next couple of weeks. I'm not as worried about the Strand Larsen early sub. I think that was more of a game state thing.
Yeah. No, he's good, man. Like, he's always the furthest forward. Like, you see Cunha doing everything. Like, by the way, yesterday's game, I watched it very closely. It was a Monday night, nothing else to do. So Cunha has become a little bit of a drama queen, I want to say. Like, every time he makes a pass, he puts his hands up if the guy doesn't receive it, or if he's running and nobody passes to him. Like,
That's what
okay,
happens when you think you're better than everybody else in the
yeah,
team.
that's what I mean. Like, he's basically now of his mind that everything should go by me. Like, for FPL, I don't mind it. Like, okay, you take your shots, you be selfish. But from a team point of view, it's not ideal. But even then, it was always Strand Larsen ahead of Cunha. Cunha was trying to make things work. And I can see in the chat, like some people saying, oh, I did Cunha to Isak. I don't like that at all. Like, it's worse than, for me. Because at least Jackson, there could be a fourth yellow, there could be rotation. Cunha is going to start the next two games, guaranteed. He's going to play pretty much 90 minutes, guaranteed. He could have had 2 penalties yesterday. So I just feel selling Cunha before Ipswich and Leicester is very, very, what can I say? Not good. I would just be patient, man. Isak is not going to score Cunha by that much that you need to do it this week.
I think give that a couple of weeks now. Cool. Let's wrap up the forwards and do a sleeper plug before our bus teams.
Yep, and there's a couple of super chats as well
Yes, we'll do
that we can cover after.
It's a UCL week in Champions League.
It is, yeah. So, Champions League is back in act. This is actually the final Champions League midweek before the year end. So if you want to get involved, you don't need to have been involved in the past. You basically join this week and you join. The QR code is to take you straight to the Champions League mini league. And if you do that, if you are the best predictor, top 3 predictor, then you are in chances to win $1,000 of prize shared between the top 3. So it's a great opportunity, and actually the last rounds become a little bit unpredictable. So you could also get lucky if you wanted to be contrarian. Like, that will be my strategy this week. I'll try to be a little bit contrarian because year end maybe they rotate a little bit. Because if you're trying to hit top 3, don't pick the winners. Try to go a little different. That would be my strategy.
There'll be always 1 or 2 upsets. You pick the obvious results, you're going to get mid. You're never going to get top. So I like that idea. I like that Liverpool is an early game tonight. Much easier for us in India to watch.
Yeah.
Cool. Before drafts, a like and subscribe plug, please, Pras.
Yes, if you are watching live, then if you don't mind, like the stream, and if you're watching on video, do come back and go to the subscribe button. It would really help us out. Where are we on our targets of? We are trying to hit 35K, right?
We're 34th, 300 odd.
So we need 700 more. So, and every video we get about 50%, 60% people who watch the video who don't subscribe. It's not much to ask. We're not asking for your money. We're not asking for your more than 2 seconds of your time. Just go and click the subscribe. It really helps us out. We feel the love if you do it. So it would be much appreciated.
Fantastic, Pras. Thank you for that. This is your team, Pras, with Pinnock in there? Yes.
It is my team, so it's Raya in goal, 8 Nouri. This was huge, man. Last night, like, more than the assist, I celebrated his substitution. That, okay, no yellow, so I don't need to worry about 8 Nouri at least this week. So Ipswich at home. Gabriel, we'll see if he's fit. Now, it will be important for me to know about Gabriel because it may mean I make 3 transfers instead of 2. So I'll come to it. So Gabriel, for now. Pinnock is going to become Trent. I'm simply waiting for Trent to come through this game. So think of this as Trent. Then I have Saka, Enzo, Palmer captain for now. I am way more 50-50 than I have been in the past in terms of Palmer versus Salah. We'll see. We'll see how.
The Anderson thing matters a lot in that sense, and we didn't discuss captaincy. We might as well do it while we are here.
Yeah. And Bassi as well, right? He's also suspended.
No, that's my point. Bassi is suspended, and if Anderson isn't back, I don't even know who's going to be playing as centre back. Probably a Lukic.
So that would be an issue. So I am wary of Salah. I know there's a little bit of EO play. I hate to say it. Like now I'm 25k. I don't need to go different, right? I don't need to be different and go Palmer. But at the same time, if I really feel that Palmer is the better pick, I'll go for that. So TBT. I do think I'm 50-50, but right now slightly more on Palmer, maybe because he rewarded us with 18 points just now. And then Salah. And then Cunha, Isak, and João Pedro. So very happy with the front line, very happy with the midfield. Trent will become, so Pinnock will become Trent. So that 11, I'm very happy with all 11 home games. If Gabriel is out, I don't want to play Greaves, and Lewis is anyway not playing. So I may think about doing Lewis to someone. That could be Colwill if it is this week. I could even just say, man, you know what? Just play Munoz. Like, just get him in
for
now.
the attacking threat, just buy him.
Because I want him later. So it's something that I'm considering.
Because he did score against Man City and Newcastle. Ultimately, look at that. Those are the fixtures.
And it's Brighton away. It's not the worst. And then I can bench him next week anyway. So that would be my thinking, at least for now. But I would ideally not like to do that and basically carry 2 free transfers to next week. And ideally carry 3 free transfers to game week 19 fixture swing, which is basically 18, correct. So that would be the idea. In that 3 free transfers, I can deal with Aït-Nouri, I can deal with Cunha, and I can deal with Rodgers. That would be basically the direction where I'm trying to go.
Cool. I like it. I feel ideally saving a transfer and having that. How much money you have sitting now?
After Trent, still $1 million, man.
Still $1 million. So you have quite
team value is
still.
disgusting.
But let's just talk about all the captaincy options you have now, Pras. Now let's talk Saka, home to Everton. I think now if you have Gabriel and Timber and Calafiori fit, only then Saka tempts me. Because again, with Partey playing right back, I don't like that as much for Saka.
Yeah, Saka, look, people keep making fun of it, but Saka is a good bread and butter long-term pick. I don't think he's a spiky pick as much, unless there is a week where he's home to like Southampton and everybody else has a difficult fixture. So he's not a bad pick. But I just think I keep Saka. He's my perma vice. I mean, he's not right now because the weather is bad and I don't want to have a lucky vice captain. But generally, he's the guy who I always expect a return from, but I never expect a huge haul from. So I'm okay not captaining Saka. Same for Isak. Like Isak is good. I think Leicester are also without Ndidi, and I think another of their midfielders. So they're actually very short of midfielders.
Okay.
So Isak is a good choice, but Newcastle are again hot and cold, right? You never know, even though it's a home game. So I have trust issues with them. So I basically come down to Palmer and Salah. Those are my 2 options.
Yeah, with Newcastle, I think LR said it best. They play to the level of their opposition. They raise their game against the big sides, against Leicester. At home, you do expect them to win, but like you said, there are trust issues. I think it's between Palmer and Salah for most people this week. I don't think even Haaland owners are necessarily going to captain him this week now, home to Manchester United.
Brentford away is bottom of the table, yeah? Like for the season.
They are, but again, they have had some tough fixtures, obviously, and that's people talk about Brentford home and away. You look at the teams they've played at home and the teams they played away, that sort of balances out. But again,
this is the team. Yeah.
This is the team they played out, but they've had such a good record against us over the last 4-5 weeks. They are pretty much 4-5 seasons. They're a bit of a bogey team for us.
I hear you. I saw that.
The bit of I expect them to set up a deep block. It maybe win by 1-0, 2-0. I don't see a blowout in this one. That's my only concern. The thing is with the Fulham defense struggling a little bit in terms of personnel, there's just no reason not to go Salah. That's what I am with Salah right now. I have to find a reason to actively go against him, and I just don't see it right now. For me, I'm absolutely no doubt. It's Salah for me.
Okay. I could be swayed. Like this is one of those weeks where I could be swayed. So we'll see where we land.
It's a week you can afford to go different, I think, because again, we just talked about how good Fulham are defensively. But again, that I think at Anfield and at Craven Cottage is 2 entirely different prospects.
And it's the fact that it's Carabao Cup after, right? So there's no worry, not as much worry in minutes. Like Salah's definitely not going to play the Carabao Cup.
He just rested last weekend anyway. And today they're playing Tuesday.
It worked out really well for them because they had Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. They missed the Saturday. So now it's actually worked out quite nicely. They play Tuesday and then they play, I think this is Sunday?
Yes, I think so. Or maybe Saturday.
Liverpool. Sure. No, it's Saturday actually. Saturday 3 p.m. But still, Tuesday, Saturday is fine. And then Carabao Cup.
Carabao. I think they're playing Southampton in the Carabao. It's not even a difficult game.
Palmer plays Chelsea Sunday, man. He's been destroying ranks on Sundays.
Have you seen the timing? It's such a weird time. They're playing
it's all starting at 3 p.m.
It's a 7 p.m. kickoff on a Sunday for Chelsea.
Oh, yes. Man. It's nice. Yeah. Under the lights, Stamford Bridge.
Yep. You got Man United boys always look for a reason to captain Chelsea players.
He never disappoints, man. Palmer rarely disappoints. Although, to be fair, neither does Salah.
Cool. Let's talk
All
about
right.
now this LR's team. He's got 3 free transfers, 0 in the bank. He's got Rhea, Timber, Gabriel, Nouri, Salah, Palmer Cap, Mbeumo, Rogers, Haaland, Evanilson, Joao Pedro. On the bench is Greaves, Dibbling, and Mikalenko. Do you see a move for LR this week? I think he's good to save.
He could, or he could do an Mbeumo downgrade and get a Liverpool defender. Like, can he do Mbeumo
Does he need
to?
to? He has a double, like, let's say if Gabriel is fit, or Gabriel, like, we get the usual smoke and mirrors. I think he can afford to, like, outroll another transfer here.
It's true. Like, if Gabriel is fit, you don't need to play that defender this week anyway. So yeah, I mean, he could just do a 1 week, like a Mbeumo to Gordon for 2-3 weeks, and then just take it from there. I mean, this, his
I see
team is quite
Rogers
locked in
as a
that
weak
sense.
spot in his team. Like, ultimately, he's pretty much playing Rogers perma play for the next few weeks. He needs to sort
Could
that
do
out.
Rogers to Enzo actually.
Could do Rogers to Enzo. That's because it's a cheaper price. He can do that in one move. That's probably what I would do. Then sort out Mbeumo. I think you play Mbeumo at Forest. Sort him out the week after.
Yeah. Can you believe LR is like going to have 4 free transfers in game week 18? We never thought so. This would happen.
That's the thing with this structure we were talking about, right? When you go for the 3 premium structure, there's not much wiggle room you can do with other moves.
Exactly.
This is my team. Flecken. I've currently put in Lewis in there. I'm likely selling him for Trent. Gabriel, Nouri, Mbeumo, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Strand Larsen, Jackson, who I've sold for Isak, Joao Pedro. Semenyo, I think, will be coming in now for Mbeumo. He's just in there now. Greaves and Mikalenko. So Mbeumo will be on the bench. Semenyo starting. And Salah cap. I've got 2 free transfers, and one will probably be done. I think it's about 2.4 in the bank. So
So
Lewis
2
to
more
Trent.
left, right?
Yeah.
2 more, okay.
Lewis to Trent likely move. Especially with the
And then
Timber
save
doubt,
the
I'm
third.
spooked now. Yeah, save the third. And likely save it the week after as well. Play Mbeumo.
How much will you have after the Trent move?
0.1. Tapped out completely.
So Flecken can't be anyone else.
Flecken can't be anyone else for a while.
Get
That's the
Sanchez,
news.
man. Believe in Sanchez.
No, never. I'd buy Colwell, but I'm nowhere going near Bob Sanchez. Absolutely not. Let's do the super chats real quick, Pras, before we have to
let's
jet.
do it.
Let me scroll up.
So there was a question from Emre Kappa. Actually, now I know who he is because I interact with him on Twitter as well.
that's
He's
nice.
saying you guys are against Bruno for the upcoming fixtures, getting Bruno later than Konate as a Liverpool comeback attempt. So you're basically saying Bruno and Konate, or say Gomez for now, instead of a cheap midfielder and a Trent. Look, I think the problem with Bruno is he's going to not play every game as a 10. And the games he doesn't play as a 10, he's going to not have the same appeal. I would go as far as saying he would be as threatening as Enzo if he plays in the pivot, which is not a diss on anyone. Enzo, we're saying, is a good pick. So he would basically be okay, but he's still on penalties. He's still on a lot of free kicks. So I think he's fine as a pick, but I don't think you need to jump to get him. He still has Man City away. He still has Liverpool away to come. He has Newcastle to come. Just wait. Like, I don't think you need to commit on. But if you hold him and you want to keep holding him, that's not bad either. So it's not an issue.
I'd agree with you completely. I'm just not enamored by Bruno right now. I think Manchester United had take some time to settle. But the numbers have been there. I think Andy mentioned, and it was funny because Andy mentioned that Big FPL won't talk about it. Who is Big FPL if not Andy?
Obviously, he was being sarcastic. He had a fantastic week, like 95 points or something.
Yep. Andy's moving up. Saliba has been really good for him.
Indeed. So next one, Dheer is saying 3 free transfers, Mbeumo plus Van Dijk plus Raul, or 5 to 7 million mid, Trent and Raul. So you can remove Raul from both sides of the equation. So Mbeumo plus Van Dijk versus Trent plus a cheaper.
This is what we discussed. Pretty much the entire section we discussed. A macro point is where you want to go.
Exactly, where you want to head. If you want that more expensive midfield slot, then keep Van Dijk. Like, maybe you need as.
But the thing is, plus, I think if you're going for Van Dijk, you find the money for Trent. 6.4 for Van Dijk, I still can't get on board with it.
That's where I am. That's where I am. It should be $1 million gap minimum between the two.
6.4 for Van Dijk just feels a bit too much for me. I think I would go for the other combo.
Last one is, it's the same question. It's repeated. Okay, thank you for 2 super chats, Dheer. That's it.
That's about
Um,
it. Let's wrap up.
Yep, that's about it. Thank you. We'll be back with the three. Is LR going to be able to? I think he might
I
be able to
don't
do a
think he
short
might.
one.
I'm not. He's not. Let's not hold him to it. I don't think he's
Okay,
going to do it this week.
fine. So he might do a short or he may not do it, but you and I will be back with our team selection videos, and we will see you guys next week.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Have a great game week. Ciao
Take
for
care,
now.
everyone.